Hello and welcome to the Trending Now podcast. I'm Louie Butko. Thanks for joining us as we recap the week that was on Trending Now, which you can catch every Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. and 11:30 on CHCH, CHCH.com, and streaming live on our Trending Now YouTube page. Coming up on today's show, 12 jurors and 6 alternates have been chosen in the criminal hush money trial of former U.S. President Donald Trump. What happens next? Well, the host of Trending Now, Nicole Martin, has been following the trial all week and joins us off the top with the latest, including some scary moments outside the courtroom today. Former Toronto Raptor Jontay Porter has been banned for life from the NBA after an investigation determined he provided confidential information, underperformed, and bet on his own team to lose. Manesa Dhanbalan joins the show with more on that in just a little bit. And Taylor Swift drops her 11th studio album, and the reviews are in, and it's a mixed bag. We'll get Laura Sebben's thoughts when she stops by before we say goodbye. But first, we start with a historic trial, and I've been accused, and I have said this a lot of times on this show, when we're living through history, it's hard to sometimes take a step back. Mm-hmm. We've been talking about it all week. Wednesday was the only day off from the trial, so it's the only day we didn't talk about it. But a former U.S. president is sitting trial for criminal charges. And it's history. It's all history right now, right?
It is. You know what everyone's saying? OJ passed away on Friday, and then Trump jury selection begins on the Monday. Yeah. They couldn't be together, that's for sure, because you got the OJ trial that everyone's comparing it to was the biggest thing in history in terms of the court scene in the United States. And then now this. Could it trump it? I don't know. We'll see what Trump does. Right now, though, it's an exciting moment because we've now had the jury selected. And that I thought was going to take weeks. I honestly did not think it was going to be, we're done, we're here, as you reported yesterday on Trending Now, that we have all 12 and 6 alternates. We're ready to go with opening statements on Monday.
And they were saying weeks. They were expecting delay tactics from the Trump, which they still have tried. A lot of appeals leading up to it. But Juan Marchand is kind of saying, this is my courtroom. These are the rules. Follow them.
Even the location, they were trying to say, how can people in Manhattan, in New York City, be impartial here? You have most of the people who are Democrats. Are they going to give Trump a fair trial?
Yeah. They were saying even if you were wearing a Trump hat, there wasn't enough reason. If you can go there and if you can say before the judge, I can be fair and impartial, unless they have proof to back that up, there's really nothing they can do to get rid of you as a juror.
No, this is what I found so fascinating this week is that they had questionnaires that they would have to go through. And then once they determine, okay, can they be fair? Can they be impartial? You go into this room and you go into the courtroom with Trump.
Yeah.
And you're about to sit up there as he's staring right at you, looking you right in the eye, and you have to say whether you could give him a fair trial. Are you going to treat him like any other citizen? Do your beliefs, your political beliefs, go against Trump's? They had all kinds of questions, 42 that they had to answer.
And of the 196 people they brought through, at least half of them have said, I cannot be fair and impartial. And they were dismissed right away.
It was quick.
Yeah.
It was quick.
It's like that game where you flip the pictures down. Guess who? Is that the one where is it a man or a woman? And you can flip half of them down. That's basically, can you be fair and impartial? No. And then you can flip half the board down.
There are absolutely no journalists on the jury, that's for sure. But there was a few lawyers. I was kind of surprised by that.
There was the juror earlier in the week. So Wednesday night, and again, we had the story yesterday on Trending Now. And again, shout out to Emily Taylor. The show is frantic enough as it is, let alone when news breaks at about 5 o'clock when you think you've got it set. But of course, news broke yesterday. But earlier in the day, a juror had to excuse themselves after she felt that she was basically identified on Fox News, which is an interesting way to see this trial play out.
It was fascinating. I don't know who approved for Fox to give as much detail as they did. We're talking what her fiance did for a living, approximate address. Come on.
Yeah, neighborhood.
Yeah.
What she did for a living, right? She's unmarried, very specific, not just with somebody, but
doesn't it lead you to think? And again, this is just a conspiracy theory, but if Trump is buddies with Fox. Did they maybe, because they only have so many, what's the word I'm thinking of? Strikes, yes, that they can impose on a juror to get them out.
So what happened was Trump basically took that segment on Wednesday night. He quoted it, tagged Jesse Waters was the host, and now that post the prosecution is saying this is jury intimidation. This is exactly what we don't want him to do. This is what a gag order is supposed to prevent. Tuesday, they're supposed to rule on that. He could face jail time. That's the thing. He could face jail time. If he doesn't show up to court, he could face jail time, which was really interesting all week to hear the rules set by Juan Marchand.
It's not just for him. It's for any American on a criminal trial. They have to be there every single day or else they put a warrant out for your arrest. You have to be there. So it's not just like the president has to be there. I hate this judge. He's so unfair. The scammer of a judge. No, that's not the case at all.
And also, he was complaining about not being able to see his son graduate, saying the judge isn't letting him. The judge did not say that. The judge said it's too early to determine that. If we're falling behind in the case,
because one of his other lawyers is asking for another day for his child's graduation. So he's like, okay, like we'll see where we are at in the trial, but we already have Wednesdays off every week. To be taking two Fridays in a row.
Off, we need that. Like, let's just say, as like people who are reporting on this, like we need that Wednesday off. I mentioned some dramatic moments, some scary moments outside the court just a few hours ago. Really, one of those things that, especially in a newsroom, like we're on top of things. Like we we got multiple sources. We have multiple TVs. We saw it kind of minutes as it happened. That being someone lighting themselves on fire outside the courtroom. Tense moments for sure. While major networks broadcasting live right from there.
Broadcasting live. I mean, graphic, absolutely graphic. Even the way some of the reporters were describing what they were seeing. Ooh. Yeah. Well, I was just reading just before we started the podcast. The man's still alive.
Critical condition.
But they're still trying to determine motives behind this and why he decided.
Manifesto. I mean, there's some reports of a manifesto online about a new world order, and it's pretty kooky for sure. New York is already a pretty kooky place, right? There's so many people. There's so many different opinions.
The one article I was saying, what I was just reading was that it's not an anti-Trump thing that he was doing.
It's more of a anti-New World Order, really deep conspiracy theories.
Okay, so like Alex Jones.
Like deeper than that, right? Like quoting CIA directors from the 80s type thing. Again, just something I read. I'm not saying that's what he was doing, but there are reports that this was kind of a New World Order manifesto, which goes that it wasn't a Trump thing, anti-Trump thing, pro-Trump thing, anything like that.
Just hope he's going to pull through.
For sure. It'll be an interesting trial. Like you said, opening statements begin on Monday.
So, okay, the one thing I want to mention, I was really excited to talk to him. His name's Lanny Davis, and he's the legal advisor for Michael Cohen. So Michael Cohen is central to this. Yes, Louie.
You talked to him.
Lanny Davis. Yes, we did. And he was fantastic because he really talked like Michael Cohen might be seen as the star witness. He's the guy who's Trump's fixer, Trump's former lawyer. He already served jail time federally for these types of crimes for paying off the hush money to Stormy Daniels.
Expected to be a witness.
He will be a witness.
He will.
So but there's going to be a lot against him too. People are going to really come at his character. But there's one other witness that will come forward, and that is the Inquirer. So, and one of the other things was paying off Stormy Daniels, but then there was also a catch and kill. So Michael Cohen contacted the organization and then said, listen, like Karen McDougal, okay, she's
the Playboy
model. There was going to be a story about her sexual affair with Trump while he was married to Melania Barron's, I guess a little baby, or maybe she was pregnant at the time, I don't know. And so they tried to say, okay, like let's pay you off, don't run the story, and so that. I think the editor is going to be testifying as well.
I've also read, like, Trump is pretty terrified of Karen McDougal, too, that testimony, because everybody knows the Stormy Daniels story. Everybody knows Stormy Daniels. Everybody's seen her face. Like, the story has been told and told again. Karen McDougal is one of those, like, oh, yeah, there's also someone else involved in this. And, Hope Hicks, his former assistant, going to testify as well. So the amount of people coming through. I'm not sure if it's going to hurt his poll numbers. And that, again, another catch and kill. Another, let's pay him off. It's going to be interesting for sure. We're going to talk about the Canadian budget, but nothing really flashy about it.
Housing. Okay, so they're big
It was a very millennial, Gen Z focused budget for this Liberal government. That was kind of how they rode the wave of power to their minority government supported by the NDP. Speaking of which, caught up with Jug Meat this week, which is pretty cool. But just overall, takeaways from the budget?
I think the housing one's a big one because we've already heard that we need to build 3.5 million homes by 2030 if we want to lower the price of homes to 2004 levels. So they're coming in, I think they said 3.87 million homes by 2031. So could that bring down the cost of a house? Fingers crossed for all of us out there who are still looking to buy.
Yeah.
So that was a big one. Then also taxing the rich, that capital gains changes.
They weren't hiding that much. They weren't,
No.
they kind of hinted.
No.
They made a lot of funding announcements before.
Yes.
There were a lot of questions on how you're going to pay for it. Basically all came out in the budget. A lot of investors saying this is going to spook people from Canada, entrepreneurs, but we'll have to
That's the conservatives' pitch too.
That's what they say.
These super rich people are just gonna, shelter their money somewhere else.
Poor little rich boy.
Yeah,
Not losing much sleep. Again, busy week, busy show. I know you got to get ready for tonight, so thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Louie.
All right, my thanks to Nicole Martin for joining me today. Still ahead, Laura Sebben is going to be by. We're going to get her thoughts on the new Taylor Swift album. We'll also talk a little bit about the NHL's Arizona Coyotes officially moving to Salt Lake City. Manesa Dhanbalan going to be by in just a second as well. We're going to talk a little Jontay Porter. So a very sports-heavy week on Trending Now with lots going on, absolutely. Speaking of sports, Scottie Scheffler established himself as a dominant force in the golfing world over the weekend, winning the 2024 Masters Tournament in Augusta, Georgia. The 27-year-old Texan has now captured his second Masters victory in 3 years, joining a select group of 17 golfers who have managed the feat. He shot a final round 4 under 68 to reach 11 under par and win by 4 strokes over Ludvig Åberg of Sweden. The victory also earned him 100 world ranking points, 600 FedEx Cup points, his second green jacket, and $3.6 million. Scottie Scheffler having a dominant start to the season. He's played 9 events, so 9 times 4 is 36, right? Yeah, okay, good. Whew, panic there. So he's played 36 rounds of golf. He's missed the top 10 just once. He's won $15 million already this season, which is more than second and third combined on the PGA Tour's money list. Not taking any time off to enjoy the win. He's in a crowded field at Hilton Head, South Carolina, the RBC Heritage Open. Speaking of the RBC Canadian Opening happening in a few short weeks here in Hamilton Golf and Country Club. And I mentioned year earnings, career earnings. Career earnings wise, he's made $83 million. Career earnings-wise in the NBA, Jontay Porter made about $2.4 million. He gambled about $20 million. And to discuss that, we bring in Manesa Dhanbalan.
Hello.
Hey, Manesa.
How's it going?
This story really doesn't... it's a tough story to read because there's got to be more at play. There's got to be almost an addiction at this point. If you're willing to sacrifice your career, tell us a little bit about Jontay Porter and why he was trending this week.
I mean, throwing away his entire career, it's just so sad. A lot of the some of the people that I spoke to said it probably is an addiction because how much did he get? 20 grand or something that he actually made. He would have made more had that last one gone through, and it didn't, which it was really bad luck for him, and it really sucks.
Well, it was the system working, basically. The system flagged it as a win, said something's not right about this. He had bet almost 20 times on the NBA. He underperformed. He gave out confidential information. You spoke to some people in the sports betting world yesterday. What's the reaction kind of across this? Because sports gambling's not going anywhere. What did you take away from yesterday?
The thing is, when it comes to sports integrity, it's a huge deal.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm seriously learning is that it really takes away from why everyone loves sports so much, right? Because the second you take that integrity away, some of the things they were saying, it becomes a TV show, right? Things are fixed, you never can expect it. It's all. So I understand why they're taking it so seriously, but a good point that I think it was Michael Lorraine brought up, he was he's there's a lot of times, he's people may disagree, but people who are involved in domestic abuse cases or some of those kinds of things. And people were given suspensions and stuff like that. And then for for a lot of people, they would sit there being like, but like, when it came to gambling, he just gets like banned. Like, why is that? But I guess
it's the betting on your own team, right? Even Pete
Yeah.
Rose, a famous MLB, hits leader. He was gambling on baseball, never gambled on his own team, allegedly, but he's somebody who's banned from MLB like forever and ever and ever. So I can understand, like, and it's the betting on your own team to lose. It's the underperforming. It's the knowing you have to, and you mentioned the word, it's integrity. And this is what, with all these gambling companies coming in, with it being so easy to put $5 down, $10 down, $100,000 down, you want to be able to know that, okay, this wasn't fixed, because there could be, on any given game, there could be millions of dollars on the line. And if somebody is throwing it, then that's, again, integrity is the word of the game.
And sports gambling, like, that's growing, and it's new, right? It's more on, it's like just in the past 2 years, right? Like, it's just, people are still, I mean, while some people are sitting there being like, okay, you know, maybe it was a little harsh and he could have gotten a second chance, but that trust is broken, right? So I can kind of understand from like a certain perspective of like why it's so serious, right?
Yeah.
But there was a different point that I was trying to say, and then I got distracted.
No, I got distracted too, because I'm not sure if you guys have seen this picture before, but Manesa Dhanbalan is dressed exactly like The Rock is. So I like Manesa Dhanbalan and The Rock right now I got distracted by that.
Except I don't have the chain.
You don't have the chain.
I don't have a chain.
But was that on purpose? Because you were dressed like
wish
The Rock.
I should do the pose too, you know?
You should.
So like that.
Say, that's why I got distracted while you were talking.
I was wondering why you were going.
I was looking. I know. I distracted
like, what is
you.
he doing?
It's a very Friday around here. Very Friday around here. Speaking of which, a funny story with some scheduled changes and trial dates and things like that, and people calling in sick. You weren't actually supposed to be on Trending Now at all this week.
I was not supposed to have any training now shifts, but the entire week ended up being that way. Even this morning when I woke up, I thought I was going to be on the evening news, and then things changed.
Well, we're very happy to have you on Trending Now. I know we had a great show yesterday, of course, when you had this Jontay Porter. You're working on Taylor Swift right now.
Yes, I am.
Thoughts, comments?
Okay, so I haven't really listened to the album properly, except for like how much that I'm listening to put the story together.
Yeah.
But it looks like the reviews are like some like it, some love it, and then some like absolutely don't like it at all. Like people are describing it as cringy and boring, which I'll talk more about in my story tonight at 7 p.m. on Trending Now.
Wow. Manesa Dhanbalan, you're getting to be a real pro at this. I can't believe I almost didn't have you on the show.
Yeah, like when you rejected me when I asked to be on the show this morning. Yeah.
Yeah, and good thing I did.
I hope your grandma hears that too.
Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. Manesa Dhanbalan, my thanks to her for joining me today. Still ahead, we're going to have a very special interview here on the Trending Now podcast. On my pack tonight on Trending Now, I preview the NHL playoffs. And in my pack, I caught up with Greg Wyshynski. He's a senior writer for ESPN on the NHL. So coming up later on, we're going to play that full conversation for you, getting set for the NHL playoffs, which get underway on Saturday. No hockey tonight, but back Saturday as the playoffs kick off. And Greg Wyshynski going to be by before we say goodbye to get his thoughts on that. And Laura Sebben on her way in right now as well. Wanted to get to this story because Tim Hortons was trending this week. So I hide my coffee off the desk. Tim Hortons was trending this week as they branched into the afternoon and evening dining market by introducing new flatbread pizzas. Now, they're available across Canada as of Wednesday, and they come in 4 different flavors: cheese, pepperoni, bacon everything, and chicken parmesan. Tim Hortons says the launch is meant to draw customers through the door past breakfast time, marking the chain's entry into a new part of the fast food market. Now, the flatbreads had been tested for the past 2 years in a pilot project at select Calgary and GTA and Winnipeg restaurants. Restaurants Canada says pizza was the country's 6th most ordered item last year. Laura Sebben, this one actually sounds pretty good. The bacon everything flatbread pizza. Let me do it in the Tim's PR
Okay.
Some iconic Tim's flavors come together for a unique recipe Tim's fans will love, featuring double smoked bacon, urban garlic cream cheese, a blend of mozzarella and Monterey Jack cheeses on a roasted garlic flatbread, and topped with everything seasoning.
So what part of that is iconic Tim's flavoring?
I think the urban garlic,
But that's Philadelphia cream cheese.
but like urban garlic,
Okay.
double toasted.
Well,
on
I'm
everything.
like a
double
pretty-
toasted. That's like the number one.
What did they
that's gotta be
say?
like the number one bagel order, right?
Pizza.
Double toasted urban garlic with cream cheese. What's your bagel order?
I switch between 12 grain and cinnamon raisin and getting either just plain cream cheese or double butter.
Double butter.
They
on the-
never put enough butter, okay? It's usually dry as a bone.
That's because
when
they're
you get
doing
your
it so
bagel.
quickly. Do you ever see them back there? Like they
No,
just do the
but-
slap and then they don't cut it either anymore. The bagels. They don't cut them.
Through the center, but they don't
Yeah,
give you the
they
half.
don't do it that way.
Makes it difficult to eat while I'm driving.
Yeah, I guess the iconic flavors would be urban garlic and bacon, maybe. I don't know. Tim's food, it's not for me.
No, I just like the baked goods.
Coffee, sure, all day,
baked
every day.
goods. I like the baked goods.
Baked goods are fine. I didn't bring you on here to talk Tim Hortons Pizza.
Okay.
We brought you on here to talk Taylor Swift. And I said I wasn't going to call you a hater on the air, but you're not a fan. You're not a fan. You think it's boring, you said. Is that your words?
I think it's boring. I don't like. Okay, so some lore to my Taylor Swift
Go for it.
history. I don't like her as a person.
Wow.
I might not know her, but I don't like her as a person.
Sure.
But I always gave her credit where credit was due. I think she can make a catchy song. I think she can. I don't think she's the best singer, but I think her songwriting abilities, they're catchy and
sure.
they get me and they suck me in every once in a while, and I'm like, you know what, it's not a bad song. I'm not gonna hate her for that.
Yep.
So because of that reason, I was like, let me listen to a couple songs. First of all, she's never released an album this long. 31 songs is insane. Other people have.
What she needed to announce at 2 a.m.
Well, yeah, because she released half of it and then she released the second half and yada yada. I think 31 songs is far too long. There's been other artists who have done albums.
of 13.
Yeah, but I don't care. It's too long. I don't want to listen to 31 songs. Anyways, and from my quick skim, they all kind of sound the same. Like I wouldn't be able to tell you one from another off the top, which usually you should be able to do. Like an album is supposed to be a cohesive unit, but you don't want all the songs to sound the same. And I felt she struggled with that. I know she's not 100% the only songwriter on there, but she prides herself on the lyrics that she writes.
Yeah.
And I would describe a lot of the lyrics in this album as millennial cringe. Like things that millennials think are funny and cool, but they're not. She kind of rode that line a little bit with her Midnight's album. Like, you know, Karma's my boyfriend, Karma's a cat. Like what you call everybody. Sometimes I feel that everybody's a sexy baby. Like, what are you talking about? She rode that line a little bit with Midnight's where I was like, okay, some of these lyrics are a little, you know, but she really went for the cringe with this one. I printed some out.
Okay, go for it. Yeah.
So you could see just how cringy. We would pick a decade we wished we could live in instead of this. I'd say the 1830s, but without all the racists.
That's like a line from.
That's a literal line
Wish
from a
I
song.
wasn't here. What's that one? I wasn't.
I hate it here.
Hate it
Yeah.
here? Okay.
Another line, touch me while your bros play Grand Theft Auto. Like, what are you talking about, girl? Please. My friends all smell like weed or little babies. I can't even read them out. Seriously, I don't know how she sang them.
So, what about the "Thank You, Amy" with the KIM cap?
Get over it. Get over it. That's my thought. Get over it.
I don't think you've changed much, and so I changed your name and any real defining clues. And one day your kid comes home singing a song only two of us is going to know about you. Seems to be like that was 2016, by the way. That
Yeah, and she's already come out with like. She came out with a song about Kim Kardashian on her Reputation album, which came out pre-COVID.
snake emoji.
Yeah, Karma on her Midnight's album was about Kim Kardashian. Kim has not spoken on this woman's name since 2016.
Yeah, but
Drop it, girl.
you're a big Kimmy though.
I'm not even a big Kimmy. I just get over it. Like I don't understand. I don't know. these are getting into the why I don't like Taylor Swift.
I love it. I love it.
Anyways,
Arizona hockey fans are sad. So they played their last game on Wednesday, and then like body's still cold. Body's still warm. Excuse me. They announced the next day they're moving to Salt Lake City. Obviously, worst kept secret in hockey.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this? Arizona obviously had a checkered past in the NHL for a while. I think there was a rumor about Hamilton, Jim Balsillie wanting to buy them, move them to Hamilton. That's that little connection too. But your thoughts on this team? You losing any sleep?
No, I just think Gary Bettman will do whatever he can to ensure that there's never another hockey franchise in this country ever again. You never know. It could be a roaring success. Like Vegas was a roaring success, but I think part of the reason that unfortunately Arizona failed in Arizona is because there's not an audience or like a market there, or they just haven't been able to build a strong enough one to keep people coming back, which is where they faltered. They weren't making enough money. Their stadium was really old, so people also didn't want to go to it. And I don't know, Utah also is kind of desert adjacent.
Yeah.
We'll see.
The thing about Arizona is in terms of U.S. market size, it's like a top 5 market in that Phoenix, Glendale area.
Yeah.
So that's why they don't want to give up. And also it'd be like Gary Bettman admitting defeat. And if there's one thing somebody who has been on the job for 25 years
he won't
isn't capable of doing, it's admitting they made a mistake.
I don't know. I just think if you're going, obviously money talks, and the person, like you said,
$1.2 billion.
Worst kept secret, the person who wanted this team in Utah has been saying it forever. He was fielding names before it was even official. But I don't know, when you see every year in the playoffs when the Canadian teams get eliminated, the viewership numbers tank.
Yeah.
You know who's watching the games, at least from a TV perspective.
Yeah.
I don't know. I will say, though, I hope we see a Canadian team in the finals. And one of my favorite parts about the playoffs is the route that I drive to come here. There's a Leafs fan along the way, and he has a flagpole in his front yard that he normally will either have the Canadian flag or the Ontario provincial flag on. And when the Leafs are in the playoffs, he switches it to a Leafs flag. So this morning he had the Leafs flag up, and it's fun because I don't really follow hockey.
Is it half-mast when they lose?
Yes, and it's the best thing ever. So that's how I know. If I didn't keep up on the game the night before, I'm driving to work, I'm like, oop, flags at half-mast, that meant the Leafs won. If it's full, it meant they won.
Laura, thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
Laura Sebben, my thanks to her. And speaking of hockey, before we go, earlier today I had a chance to catch up with ESPN senior hockey writer Greg Wyshynski to talk about the NHL playoffs, and here is that conversation. And, Greg, I'm going to start with the Leafs and Bruins. 2013 was 11 years ago. They've played twice since that. What is it about this Leafs-Bruins thing that has everybody saying, oh, no, not again?
Well, it's the history of it. Losing in 3 game 7s against the same team is going to leave a scar on you. And frankly, this series seems like it's going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be the Leafs piss themselves when they see the spoke to be across the ice and think about the voodoo that the Bruins have had over them, get freaked out and lose in the first round, or this becomes kind of like the situation we had a few years ago with the Capitals and the Penguins, where the Caps beat the Penguins en route to winning the Cup, had to kind of overcome their tormentors to really kind of find their stride. And that's what this series could end up being for the Leafs, I think. This is not just simply a first-round series. This is a first-round series against a team that a lot of people think they can't beat psychologically. So if they can get past them, it could really catapult them.
Who in the Maple Leafs organization is facing the most pressure going into this series? The head coach, the core 4, or the man calling all the shots, Brendan Shanahan, who in 10 years now has only won 1 playoff series?
It's the core 4. I think it's all there for them for the taking in this series. And if you think back to the other series they've lost against the Bruins in the past, it was really tightly played, and one bounce here or there, or one Nazem Kadri suspension here or there really kind of changed the vibe. But when you have Austin Matthews hitting 69 goals, when you have William Nylander having the breakout season that he had, when you have Mitch Marner, who I think everybody has waited to really make his mark in a playoff series, it's there for the taking. I'm intrigued to see exactly how the Bruins center depth matches up against the Leafs in a 7-game series. I mean, obviously, without Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci anymore, it changes the math a little bit as far as like their ability to shut down other teams' top lines. Their centers have done okay this year. You know, Charlie Coyle, Pavel Zacha, and others to kind of fill in for that loss. But you know, when you get to the playoffs, it's a different animal, and I do wonder if the Leafs ultimately don't have an advantage in a big way down the middle.
The Bruins were the President's Trophy winners last year. We know how that ended for them. You had a great piece, looking at the playoffs, and in one of them you mentioned the President's Trophy curse. That's being handed to the New York Rangers. Does this team look any different in terms of being able to break that curse? You know, last time they won 30 years ago, it was breaking a pretty significant curse. What do the Rangers look like to you? Do they scare you going into the playoffs?
Not only that, they won in '94, having won the President's Trophy that year. I mean, and the numbers are stark, man. I think it's 37 President's Trophy winners, 11 have made the final, and only 7 have won the Cup. And since we went to the wild card format, I don't think any President's Trophy winning team has made even the Stanley Cup final. So the odds are against them. What worries me about the Rangers, for their sake, is that they're probably going to have the Carolina Hurricanes waiting for them in the second round. I don't like that matchup for them. I think the Rangers' deficiencies at 5-on-5 play feed right into what the Hurricanes do pretty well. And I also think that the Hurricanes are going to be a team that can get on a real roll. The trade deadline acquisitions they made with Jake Gensel, the Penguins, and Yevgeny Kuznetsov, the Capitals, address a real problem they've had in getting that one goal in a tight game in the playoffs. I think they're better than the Islanders. I'd be surprised if they lost to the Islanders. And frankly, I think the Hurricanes could end the President's Trophies winners' Cup aspirations in the second round as well.
The Battle of Florida also going to be fun to watch. We know that. Let's shift to the West. The Vegas Golden Knights snuck into the playoffs. I mean, they had it locked up, but they're in the playoffs. What's it going to take to go back-to-back? You're getting Mark Stone back. Is that enough? It seems the West is really, really tough this year.
Well, we assume they get Stone back. I mean, he's skating, but they haven't said anything definitive yet. Guess we'll see. Miraculous healing powers, resurrection of Jesus, and all that.
Tell me how you really feel about it, though.
No, I mean, listen, the guy was legitimately hurt. He had a lacerated spleen, but as I've said many times, like my problem is that if he plays in Game 1, which we don't know for sure, he certainly could have probably played in Game 82. But that's a debate for another day. First of all, it'll be interesting to see where they go in goal. Logan Thompson's been their best goalie down the stretch, and their coach Bruce Cassidy has said that he's not making a decision quite yet. I think the smart thing to do is probably roll with Thompson and then flip it to Aiden Hill, who won the Cup for them last year, if Thompson can't handle it. But the last game of the season is going to be a huge one because they end up drawing the Dallas Stars in the first round. And the Stars have been the best team in the league for the last month. Jake Ottinger, their goalie, has really found his game again at the right time. They're deeper than the Knights. And obviously, there's a little bit of history there with them facing off in the conference final last season in a pretty nasty series. So I actually think the Knights didn't get the best draw here. I think they actually probably would have fared better against the Oilers in the first round. With the way that Dallas is going and with home ice. So it might be a short visit for the defending Cup champions in the playoffs this year.
If the Oilers, were to make some magic here, if a Canadian team is going to win the Stanley Cup for the first time since the Montreal Canadiens, the chances it's going to come from the West with 3 teams: the Oilers, Jets, and Canucks. Which of those 3 Canadian teams do you think has the best shot at making it out of the West or even winning the whole thing?
The Oilers. They were my preseason pick. I'm rolling with them. They made it in. I got to stay with them. Look, up front, they've got everything they need and more with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl leading the way, and Zach Hyman joining the 50-goal club in a thing that none of us really saw happening probably. Their back end I think is okay. Evan Bouchard is going to be on my Norris Trophy ballot this year. I think that he's been fantastic for them in a lot of facets of the game. And Matthias Ekholm, I think, has been great for them as well. It's that goaltending that everybody's worried about, and rightfully so. Stuart Skinner's not been great down the stretch. He's been below replacement in his last 15 games. He's going to have to be everything they need and more in some of these series for them to advance. I think he's got it in him. And I think defensively that they certainly can play better in front of him. So, again, I'm not convinced they're going to win, but I picked them to win. And quite frankly, with them drawing the LA Kings in the first round and looking at Vancouver in the second round, I think they've got a path to the conference final coming out of the Pacific.
You mentioned your Norris vote. Going to put you on the spot here. How's your Hart Memorial Trophy vote going? Lots of really tight race to the end, obviously, for the Art Ross, Kucherov, McKinnon, McDavid. How's that vote looking? How tough of a vote is that going to be for you?
It wasn't a tough one for me. I wrote a full-throated defense of Nikita Kucherov as my Hart Trophy pick the other day on ESPN.com. You can go check it out if you want to read it. And I got no regrets, man. Like, he's been fantastic. I mean, he is, he contributed a point on 50% of the Lightning's goals this season. One of the few players in NHL history to have done so. He joined McDavid in having 100 assists in the season, joining the likes of Gretzky and Lemieux and Bobby Orr as the only ones to have done that. He's been great for them. He's been everything they've needed and more in a season in which, if he hadn't been that great, I don't think they make the playoffs based on the deficiencies in their supporting cast, the way that Andrei Vasilevsky hasn't played well, and the fact that they lost Mikhail Sergachev during the season 2 to injury. So he's been my MVP. I'm happy to say that because I don't think there's a wrong answer. Like, if you want to vote for Nathan McKinnon, Austin Matthews, Artemi Panarin, Connor McDavid, Roman Josi, Quinn Hughes, Connor Hellebuck, sure, why not? Who cares? You're probably right. I think I am too. And so that's the beauty of the Hart race this year. It's not like we've got a couple of candidates where there's like one really, really right choice and then one choice that's kind of counterfeit. Like, you've got 7 guys that could all win it, and I'd be fine with any of them.
Last night, we did our playoff fantasy draft. The biggest argument was against that Tampa and Florida series. Some guy taking someone from Tampa, someone taking something from Florida. I don't know how you count out Tampa. You mentioned Vasilevsky, John Cooper, still one of the best coaches in the NHL. And then you still got Hedman and Stamkos and Kucherov. Tampa's going to be one of those fun teams to watch. Greg, really appreciate your insights. Thank you for joining me. Really, really do appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And that was Greg Wyshynski, NHL senior writer, and my thanks to him for joining me. My thanks to you as well. My thanks to Laura Sebben, Manesa Dhanbalan, and Nicole Martin. Thank them for joining me on today's show. Hey, if you like what we do here on Trending Now, make sure you follow us on all of our various social media channels. That includes on X, on YouTube, on TikTok, at Trending Now. CHCH is where you can find us. And while you're subscribing, make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe to CHCH Podcast. So you can do that by searching CHCH Podcast wherever you get your favorite podcasts, or go to chch.com/podcast. My thanks to Chantel Grillo for directing today's episode. And one more time, thank you for tuning in. From all of us here at CHCH, I'm Louie Butko. Have a great day.